Ari does it over here, quick video. Listen, too often we compare someone's behavior to what we expect from them. Let me explain. You expect some type of behavior from someone in general. And if they act in line with your expectation, you feel validated, you feel recognized, you think everything is fine. If someone behaves different from how you expect them to behave, or when someone deviates from what you consider the norm, now we think it's a problem. There's one big problem with this mindset. Your perception of someone or your perception of a situation is not automatically the truth of what goes on. No, your perception can be correct. Your perception can be right. If it's that the case, now you have an objective basis to come to your conclusions. But a lot of people out there, their expectations are based on norms of society that they've been socialized into. So, for example, you work full-time, 40 hours a week. You don't like it, but hey, you were always taught by your parents to work hard. Someone else decides to work part-time and refuses to work full-time. They even decide they're not going to pay back the student loan for now. And now you're shocked by that because you think, hold on a minute. How come he or she doesn't want to work full-time? How come they have debts to pay off and they say they have to wait? You couldn't imagine something like that. The norm you hold on to is you need to work hard, you need to do this, do this, do this. So you have strict boundaries you hold on to. But guess what? That's the norm you espouse. It's not something natural that you're obliged to. It's something you choose to. What is natural and obligatory is that human beings are safe and trustworthy. So your norm has nothing to do with people being safe and trustworthy. It's just something your parents, people around you wanted, and because you were socialized by them and you were dependent on them, you got along with them. But when you turn into an adult, you didn't examine things. So for you to hold on to that norm, and based on that norm, you compare people's behavior. If they line up with the behavior that you consider the norm, they're fine. If not, something's wrong. You operate from a false premise. You cannot operate from a false premise and come to correct and right conclusions in life. Look, if you're someone who's terrified of snakes, because snakes can be poisonous, we can understand that. You read Genesis chapter 3, how Eve didn't run away from the serpent. And you think, if I would see a serpent, I would run away with his sting. This was before the fall of man. At the time, wild animals were not a threat to human beings yet. So your perception now, after the fall of man, doesn't apply for the situation before the fall of man. I'm just telling you, when it comes to examining other people, we can't just compare their behavior with our expectations. First of all, we need to check our own expectations whether they're correct or not. Too many of you compare people's behavior to the norms you espouse. You don't check the context of someone's behavior. For example, let's say someone tells you that they love their spouse, like a woman tells she loves her husband. But you see her dressed up provokingly in the streets all the time. You see her even going on Snapchat and Instagram showing her ass all the time, never even mentioning her spouse. And you see her often when she's out of work going to pubs and all that. That's the behavior of a woman that is what they call in the world single. That is not behavior that matched a woman that's married and who loves her partner. Now, it can be that your parents were so dysfunctional that your mom behaved that way, with total disregard of your father. So you seeing this other woman behaving that way, the norm you grew up with was your mom being disregarding of your father. And I say a lot of women in your family, or a lot of women in your neighborhood where you grew up in, were so had so much disregard for their partners. What if you grew up in an environment where disregard for husbands or boyfriends was a norm? You're used to that. So when you see this other woman's behavior, you tend to notice something's off with it, but it doesn't sound alarm to you because you're acclimatized to it. But someone else who's not a deformed would tell you, what the fuck? Why is this woman act like she's single, advertise her body online like that, when she's a husband, she claims she loves her husband? Thing is, her behavior does not match the context she's in. Okay, let me give you another example. Let's say they open a new police station. So there's no police on the streets. But only thing you see the police officers doing is writing tickets for traffic violations, which is important. But you have a lot of missing people. And you have a lot of cases of child abuse and molestation by pedophiles. But you never hear the police addressing those key issues that even existed before that ex-police station came there. People who are indoctrinated by society would say, well, police has a lot to do, it's a tough job. They try to make excuses. Someone else, maybe a foreigner, would say, hold on a minute. If you guys had a lot of problems with domestic violence, child abuse, and child molestation, if they opened a new police station, an extra police station, they should focus on those key things. Why are they focusing on traffic violations? Even when people die in traffic is not that high. If the traffic fatalities are quite low, and they've been low for years, why is the police putting extra attention on traffic? Well, they should put extra attention on the things that really matter. The only conclusion there is that they don't want to. It may be that some police officers do want to deal with them, but they're not allowed to by their superiors. So in this case, the police force is purposely neglecting the public. But someone who's indoctrinated by society and who doesn't trust Heavenly Father because of their lack of self-worth, because those that don't serve Heavenly Father, their self-worth is not confirmed, so because of their lack of self-worth and the fact they have no leverage in life, it's quite scary and terrifying for them to admit that the police in the country in general doesn't care about the public. So anytime you mention that, they'll turn on you, call you a conspiracy theorist or whatever. Some even become your enemy, trying to attack you or hurt you or harm you because you force them to admit something they want to admit. What I'm telling you guys is, look, dysfunction happens. Some people are incompetent, some people are dysfunctional. That happens. At least you need to have to examine their fruit. There must be consistent, constructive effort from their part. If there's no consistent, constructive effort on someone's part, in a situation, their behavior doesn't match the context. Something is wrong. When it comes to people's behavior, look at the context. Don't just compare it with what you would want to happen, or don't compare it to what the majority of people want. The public expectations, as well as your own expectations, are irrelevant. Check the context. If the behavior matches the context, okay. If it doesn't match your context, examine it. Something is wrong. Well, that's it for now. Keep on with Christ and be at peace.